yesterday. The total current balance is a little over $73 million. For the year, we're actually up pretty close to 3% for the year. And kind of to put that into relative terms, the Dow Jones is down about 4% for the year. The S&P 500 index is up 0.02%, and a blended index, which would be 60% in stocks and 40% in bonds, is actually down a little less than 1% for the year. So again, relatively speaking, for 2009 here, we're beating the major indexes anyway. And then as far as our asset allocation, currently we've got 51% of our portfolio is in equities, 44% is in bonds, and 5% is in cash. And that gives us a basic overall allocation of pretty darn close to 50-50, 50% in equities and 50% in fixed income. And that's pretty much, you know, the nuts and bolts where we stand today with performance and asset allocation.
This off this morning?
Yeah, just printed it off this morning. $73,357,158. If you want to know this, we started the year at $71,658,970. And there were some withdrawals so far from the beginning of the year.
Some statistical information on it, but last year we talked about this before. The S&P Composite Index, which is 1,500 in stocks instead of just 500 in the S&P 500. But that index was down last year just about 38%. This actually is not, I'm sorry, I said last year, it's the last 12 months, March over March. That was down about 38%. The Washington Crossing portfolio was down 10.3. It's offensive, that's what it's intended to be. So performance-wise, I don't think there's any question, that it's performed very well. There can be one question. Joellen kind of asked this question with the Forward Uniplan, if it was a proprietary company, basically. With Washington Crossing, I would have to say yes and no. Joe Battipaglia runs that portfolio as the portfolio manager, if you will, and he works for Stifel Nicolaus. So from that standpoint, it is a Stifel Nicolaus company. However, it is independent. When we look at our due diligence people, they look at that the same as any of the other managers that we have in the lineup. And my contention is, yeah, on one side, the performance is great. I'd like to use it. I certainly understand conflicts of interest, or even the perception of a conflict of interest. And if you feel, in my opinion, if any one of the board members, not necessarily a majority, but if any one feels that there's a potential for a conflict of interest, then I would suggest we don't use the portfolio.
Mr. Battistelli, in government, we go by majorities.
Okay.
We don't really care about your opinion on that subject. Thank you.
Well, my feeling on the...
How much would they be managing?
What percentage of the portfolio?
Well, we talked last time about possibly using something in the neighborhood of $3 million.
And from where would that come? Who would lose that $3 million?
Right now, what I would suggest, if we were going to do the whole $3 million, right now, I would my suggestion would be that we take half of that from the fixed income portfolio and half of it from several of the other managers. Probably what we talked about here if we decide to do that. Most of the equity managers charge 50 basis points, okay, is their fee. Talking to Kevin, we whittled that down to 38 basis points he'd be willing to charge, and that's a savings to you. We pass that directly on to you. It really doesn't, as you can see, there's absolutely no advantage for Stifel Nicolaus to be using this victory program as compared to any of the other money managers. There's no monetary difference, except in this case it's saving you some money in the fees.
Have you identified the two managers who the $750,000 each would be drawn from?
One of them would be, I think we'd take it out of Rushmore, and the other probably C.S. McKee in their equity side.
And I think it needs to be verbalized. Would you show any favoritism or look the other way in any way with using the new firm?
I'm not sure I understand.
And cutting them slack if they weren't performing?
No. We would any other one of the managers. I think we have shown in the past that, like McHugh, that we don't like to have knee-jerk reactions, and if somebody is performing, underperforming, say, for a month or two or three or even maybe a quarter or two, you have to see what the pattern's going to be. But last year, for instance, this program of all the all-cap money managers, they were ranked #1. And since you have a #1 performing money manager, it's kind of, you could say it would be negligent if we didn't present it, that we have the availability to use that manager. They are.
It's a little problematic.
You do think it's problematic?
Well, I mean, to a certain extent, yeah, but that's not, you know, I'm saying really you need somebody who practices in that area to give you that opinion.
Are you okay with it?
I'm okay with it.
What do you think?
Well, if Penny has a reservation, I think we should, as due diligence, get an opinion from somebody who does have the background to make a recommendation for us. I would feel more comfortable doing that.
Sure, that's fine. If you'd like to do that, you know, we can give you time to do that, and we can look at it. Because we're going to be looking at this allocation continually, I think, throughout the rest of the year. So after we have possibly the second quarter, or a little bit more of this quarter in, you know, we're going to constantly be reviewing the overall allocation. So, you know, whatever you're comfortable with is fine with us. We're not pushing Washington Crossing. We want you to be comfortable.
And you're not on a time frame.
No.
I can tell you, I talked to Rhinesville Kunstlesher yesterday, and their pension people talked to me, and their comment to me was they were quite impressed by this portfolio. And they didn't really seem to have, other than a disclosure and that kind of thing, they didn't seem to have any reservations either.
Do we have a motion one way or the other here? What are we gonna do?
Yeah, I'll move. Put the 3 million into
I couldn't hear you.
I'll move we put the 3 million into the Washington Crossing.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Do we have any other discussion on here?
I really think that we should do the due diligence. We're not under any time frame. I really think we should be getting a legal opinion so that we have that for our record.
You're the stewards of the money, and I just wouldn't want to see you possibly get into that situation.
Oh, let's see, it hangs, I can't hear you.
Aye.
2, so